everybody. I hope that y'all are having a great week. It's Friday, right? Yeah.
It is indeed.
Friday, everybody. I'm Kendall Smith alongside of Wes Mitchell. We're back here for another GC Live. So excited to have you all. And we want to give a big shout out to Clint Hammond, our presenting sponsor of GC Live. So if you haven't watched this show already, then you probably don't know. But if you have, then you definitely know who Clint Hammond is. He's a great guy. If you need any help with your mortgage, go ahead and visit clinthammond.com. Call him at 803-576-4450. We couldn't do the show without him, and we've got a lot to get to on the show today. But I think before we get into it, Wes, is this your first GC Live engaged?
It is. We have, I would say, severely cut down the GC Lives the last few weeks. Not as much going on, so we're going to try to cram them into less shows. But, we'll be back on our daily, I think, relatively soon. But, yes, it was, a week ago. Today is Friday, as you said, a week ago. I've been an engaged man for a week, Kendall. How about that?
Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. Mackenzie is an awesome girl. So yeah, if y'all haven't heard, Wes is engaged. He got engaged at Folly Beach last week. So give him a big congratulations in the comments. And yes, I know that my camera is not great. I actually will start off the show by saying I'm on a hot spot right now. So I'm in Charlotte, and last night where I'm staying, my house, it was really close to a lightning strike, which actually caused all of our Wi-Fi to go out. So I'm trying to make the best of it and trying to still get through here on my hotspot. So I do apologize if my video is a little wonky or if I'm a little bit behind today. But we're still making it happen, and we do have a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the freshmen that are coming in. Move-in day was just a couple of days ago, so there's a lot to get to with that, and just talking about the season in general as it continues to draw closer. So Wes, you've seen a lot about the kids moving in, the new freshmen moving in for Gamecock football. So have you gotten any word on how all of that craziness went? Because move-in day is just, it's a time. It is a time for sure.
Yeah, like Beamer said, probably some sad moms, also some excited mom. I'm sure it's a bittersweet time. You're dropping the kids off for the first time, and they're going to be on their own for the first time. Just lots of change. I mean, if everybody can take themselves back to, their first time, either dropping your kid off at college or you personally being dropped off at college, it's different. But in this case, if you're a football player, you're being dropped off, and then next week you're doing a loop day workout. So, it's like, they have to hit the ground running. From what I've heard, even talking to some of the transfers in our Garnet Trust interviews, Kendall, there's not really this you're not going to be babied, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like you're going to be, they're going to walk that line. And I thought Beamer sort of said it perfectly. When we talked to him in Florence, welcome home tour earlier this week, he was like, we're not easing the guys in. Like nobody's going to sit there and necessarily hold their hand as they go through this process. You're sort of being asked to do lots of things you've probably never done before, as far as time management and just the amount of time you're spending on ball. But at the same time, that does come with a level of understanding that, there are going to be mess ups. There are going to be mistakes. You're going to sleep in. You're going to miss a meeting. You're like, that type of stuff is going to happen. So it's like, you don't want to put it out there like, hey, this is okay. You want to set the expectations extremely high. But at the same time, when those issues do arise, which they will with this number of people, and they're 18 years old, it is what it is. So I thought that was a very, I thought it was a good way to say it by Beamer. Like you're not going to be eased in necessarily, but we all understand it's not easy by any means.
Listen, I promise that the kids moving in, it's not making me emotional. I'm crying right now. I got water coming down my eyes because I just drank my water and it went down the wrong way. And you all know how that is. When you do it and you just can't stop coughing and you're uncontrollably dying. And this is literally me on camera right now. So yes, this is absolutely live. I have tears coming down my eyes because
I guess right now it is a good thing that it's blurry camera, because I couldn't actually tell what was happening. I don't know. I thought maybe you were a little bit emotional about Stone Blanton
Yeah.
arriving or something.
Oh,
But yeah, you
it's
are okay, right?
Oh, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm empathizing with all the moms that are crying because their sons are moving off and they're sending them into a new chapter of their lives. No, but I just choked on my water. Full transparency. Just, it's live, so we got to roll with the punches. My voice is also slightly shot. I've had quite a week. I've been hosting the ACC baseball tournament in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I have been at games all the time, going in later today. Was there all earlier in the week, like 3 games a day, just craziness. Yeah, hopefully I don't have any of my mascara start to come down my eyes, as Greg just said. But I think I fully recovered. But yeah, no, I've seen all of them arrive, and I love the videos that Gamecock football was putting out on social media. Shane Beamer with the boxes, he was like stacking them up. And helping the players. And then, I've seen on the social media for a lot of the players that they have been spending a lot of quality time together, even in just the first couple of days of being on campus in Columbia. So I think I saw yesterday, like Nick Eamon and Emery Floyd riding bikes together and just being out and kind of experiencing campus. Corey Rucker's on campus now. He was asking everybody for restaurant recommendations, which, by the way, if you guys had a restaurant recommendation, just one, to give somebody in Columbia, what would it be? Where would be the go-to place you would send somebody for their first time in Columbia? Because I said Beezer's, and I think that Corey actually went because he replied in my tweet. So he's in town, but they all seem to be spending a lot of time together and just not only acclimating themselves to life as a college football player, but acclimating themselves to life as a student at South Carolina. And I really know how that is, especially because I moved in a couple of years ago, and it can be a scary thing. But I think the more chemistry they continue to build as a team, especially through this process of just getting used to coming to school, the better it is for South Carolina.
Well, and they have a little built-in advantage, Kendall. Whereas, if you're coming in as a regular student, you're obviously, depending on where you're from, you may have some friends that are here, some people you already knew. If you're lucky, maybe a really good friend is here. But for them, it's kind of you kind of almost have to make friends, right? Like, you're coming in; these are your new teammates. There's something about the excitement and being around guys that you're going to be having joy with, you're going to be having sorrow with, you're going to be having tough workouts with. You might as well go ahead and dive in. So I think when you get there with the guys that are going to be around you and you move in the same day, and in some cases maybe meet their families as well, the families get to meet each other. You have some built-in friendships there, I think. And a lot of these guys, because everybody is so socially connected now, just through social media and stuff, there are prior relationships. A lot of these guys have met when they've been on visits. A good portion of the guys who were coming in actually made it in for the spring game as well. So maybe, especially if it's a guy that's at your position group, you maybe made it a concerted effort to maybe go ahead and meet them. So I think that all those things are good. And to give, maybe if people haven't seen, to give them a little idea. So as we know, a good portion of the class was already on campus for spring practice. And so that was 6 of the transfers were already in. I actually didn't count the high school guys, but there were obviously some high school guys that were already in. This week, expected on campus or already on campus, you have quarterback Tanner Bailey, linebacker Stone Blanton, receiver Landon Sampson, DB Kawan Banks, DB Keenan Nelson Jr., wide receiver / tight end Xavier Short, offensive lineman Kason Henry, DB Emery Floyd, wide receiver Callie Corton, DB Nick Imamori, offensive lineman Grayson Maines, and edge / defensive end Brian Thomas Jr. A lot of those guys, you probably, if you follow all the social media stuff, you probably saw that they were already on campus. Let's see, Blanton, Sampson, Banks, Floyd, Nicky Memori, and Grayson Maines, and Brian Thomas Jr. And then, as you mentioned, transfer-wise, Corey Rucker. Austin Stogner expected in this week. Nate Adkins, the other transfer tight end, expected this week. Tanner Bailey had told me he was coming in Wednesday. He was not on the Instagram thing, so I would imagine he's getting in right now. And then several of those guys that I just mentioned, Keenan Nelson Jr., Casey Henry, Callie Corton were scheduled to move in tomorrow on Saturday, depending on when you're listening to this. So a couple of guys, Ryan Brubaker and Demetrius Watson, offensive lineman and defensive lineman, respectively, told me that because of graduation, they would be in like June 14th ish, I think is the date. So by June 14th, though, the expectation is that the entire recruiting class will be on campus. Sometimes there's little last minute snags that move these things around. Some of the guys have graduations. Xavier Short had told me he expected to be in Wednesday. Again, he wasn't on one of the announced spots, but I think he's going to be going back and forth, maybe with graduation or something like that. But, for the most part, these guys will all be in actually this week, and then a couple of guys getting in middle of June.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't graduate high school until like June 10th. So there will be guys, like you said, that are going to come in a little bit later. I guess it just depends on where you go to school. Like, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you back. We lost you for a second there, Kendall.
I see it will come up on my screen. Again, I'm so sorry, everybody. My Wi-Fi is out because of a lightning strike, so I'm on my hotspot. But Shane Beamer has been out on these welcome home tours, and he's been talking a lot about the upcoming season, what's to come in June. So, Wes, when all these players are here and they get here, at least by the middle of June, what, getting into the grind of being a Gamecock football player, but what is this summer and especially June really going to look?
Yeah, so I think Kendall, and you are breaking up a little bit again, but I'm going to go ahead and I know where you were going with that. If you look at the month of June, it's actually going to be really important for not just the team, but also for South Carolina recruiting. And we can kind of split those things up, so I'm not just talking for 5 minutes straight. But we will start with the team. I think you look at and we got a good idea there. We may be better off doing your part just as audio, Kendall. But anyway, I'm going to sort of take it from here. If you look at June from a team standpoint, there are actually new rules that are going to be in place moving forward that will allow the staff to have more access, is probably the best way to say it, more access to the players than at any point in the past. It used to be, and they've steadily gone away from this, it used to be June, July, heavily on like strength staff only. And, I think that's still the case to an extent, but they've been allowing them to do more and more with the players involving a football. So you almost have, it's not the same as a practice, but it's much closer to a practice than it ever was before. You could do some walk-on type stuff. They prior to the spring, they've started letting the coaches do a little bit more with the players as far as workouts and team building stuff without a football. Now, without me seeing the exact byline or guideline, I should say, of how it's structured, it sounds like from what Beamer has said that you can do the walkthroughs with a football. You can do installation on the field that maybe you could not have done before. I think particularly for freshmen, for newcomers, for guys that are trying to learn the scheme, that just speeds up some of the mental process of getting comfortable with the offense, getting comfortable with the defense, getting comfortable with the special teams as well. Getting in there for spring is a huge advantage. But if you didn't get into spring, if you were one of these guys that is not on campus yet or has just arrived on campus, I should say, this is a huge advantage as far as having some additional time to get a start on the mental part of things. And I think it's going to be a tough transition. from a physical standpoint, we know the workouts are tough. The workouts are tough in June and July for everybody. You don't have to be a freshman. You don't have to be a transfer for it to be tough on you. They're going to be tough on everybody. But from a mental standpoint, this could be extremely helpful. For the freshmen, it's a lot of just sort of surviving those first few weeks and getting acclimated to everything that's going to come at you. They're going to throw a ton at you, but I do think these guys will be put into position to succeed. And again, while they don't baby them, there are some, what would be the word? There are some guardrails in place in order to sort of acclimate the guys and ease them in to the workouts to the point that you're not just asking them to do things that they physically are not capable of doing. So we'll get into the recruiting part of June momentarily, but let's try again. Kendall, can you hear me and can we hear you? Earth to Kendall. All right, I saw the mute go off, but I don't know that I can't hear you. I don't know if
Can you
can
hear me
everybody else
right now?
hear?
Do you have
Kendall
me?
says she is talking.
Oh no.
Oh no, I got you now. I got you now.
Hello.
Hey, yeah, we got you now.
Okay. I'm so sorry, everybody, again. But yeah, no, like you said, Wes, huge. The month of June is huge, and it's not just big in terms of, you know, freshmen being on campus and transfers and kind of getting the team back together and going from there as the season starts to draw closer, but also a lot of official visits on the books for South Carolina as well. So when we get into talking about recruiting and, you know, how big June can be for South Carolina, we can't go without talking about some of those official visits that are set that we've already talked about. And I think Shane Beamer talked about just how big the month of June is earlier in the week at one of his welcome home tour events. So if you know anything about that, let everybody know what he said and then just kind of get into that recruiting talk as you mentioned as well. And hopefully you could hear everything I said. This is so weird not seeing a camera and not seeing my face.
Yeah, no, we got you now. We've got the audio. It sounds good. It sounds
Okay,
clear.
perfect.
Which obviously we're going to put this on the podcast platform as well, everybody. So if you want to go back and listen, this will be good to where at least the audio will be good. And so yeah, June is massive, and you know, we've talked about the official visits actually quite a bit. I feel like on the show. I want to get into another aspect of June, and that is the camp days. And so, you know, right now, as we've talked about, you've got, I would say, at least two huge official visit weekends, June 10th, June 24th. But on top of that, you're going to have 10 camp days. And we'll get into more details on some of the guys that will be on campus for camps probably next week in the lead in. But actually, starting next Saturday, South Carolina will have their first of their 10 camp days. If I have my dates right, that should be June 4th, which is next Saturday. That is day one of the Shane Bieber camp. And, you know, the camps actually went away during COVID. You had the COVID shutdown for nearly 15 months. And so this time last year, South Carolina was preparing for having their first on campus unofficial visitors and first camp days of the Beamer era, and first on campus visitors in almost 15 months. So it was kind of a whirlwind this time last year, and a lot of the guys in the class of 2022 were having to basically cram what should have been a year's or 15 months worth of recruiting into a matter of weeks, or in some cases a matter of months. So it was a complete whirlwind. I think it won't be quite as hectic this year, but it will be just as important, just as pivotal for South Carolina. And what those camp days do for some rising seniors, but certainly for your rising juniors, your guys that are really starting to get started in the recruiting process. This is a key evaluation opportunity for the South Carolina coaching staff. You have the guys on your campus, you have the guys working out in person, and you can actually have instruction with them. So if you are, for example, Justin Stepp, and you're working with a wide receiver, you can see in person Is he as big as he says he is? Is he as fast as he says he is? There's testing. Also, just as importantly, if I'm Justin Stepp and I correct a wide receiver or I try to give him some instruction and he looks me in the eyes and then he tries to actually implement what I'm telling him, it's a key opportunity to find out how coachable a player is, which obviously we know if you're going to look at development, this is a program that's going to have to develop players, not just bring in ready-made players. And it's so important. So you can gain offers in camp season. You can lose offers in camp season. I've seen guys come in that have offers from a school or are close to getting an offer from a school. Then they have a bad attitude. They sulk if they make a mistake. They don't end up being coachable. They don't end up being a competitor. And literally as quickly as you got an offer, a coaching staff can be like, we're not going to prioritize that guy anymore. So these 10 days maybe aren't that exciting for fans. It's not as exciting as following fall practice and following preseason camp. But when you look at building your program and building your roster, the 10 camp days in June are absolutely massive, absolutely pivotal. And there are guys on this roster right now, off the top of my head, I mean, Nick Imamori is the perfect example from Irmo. Kendall, he enrolled on Wednesday. This time last year, Nick Imamori did not have an offer from the South Carolina Gamecocks. He came in for a June camp day, blew it up, had an outstanding testing day, and then an outstanding day on the field in one-on-ones, and left with an offer from the Gamecocks. And then not that long after ended up committing to South Carolina, and now he's on campus. So perfect example there, Kendall, of how important these days can be for a kid getting recognition and landing an offer from South Carolina.
Eamon Worry, also one of those guys that coaches fight over for what position group they wanted him to be in when he initially committed to South Carolina. I remember that being a storyline. They were like, he's one of those guys that's so versatile, and he was able to show that during the camp. So I know that we're really excited at Gamecock Central because we're going to be keeping up to date with all of those, as there are a ton of people that are going to be coming through, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of talent that South Carolina really tries to capitalize on and offer kids after those camps. I do want to say, Wes, I have to turn back on my video. Can you see me?
Yes, we
see
can
my
see
video?
kind of.
All right, y'all. I'm sorry to cut. Like, I have to say this because I just got this tweet notification. But you are not the only person who recently got engaged, Wes. Look who just posted that they're engaged.
I can't see that, but who is that? Alyssa?
Yes, our girl, Alyssa Lang, is engaged. Isn't that? Oh, my phone. You probably can't see it. But guys, go check out her Twitter. She made like a whole Marvel joke about it, and she's engaged to her longtime boyfriend, who I know as Tampa Bay Trey on Twitter.
Yeah. Congrats to I'm trying to pull it up right now. There it is. Congrats to Alyssa. Oh yeah, we're in the end game now. She went all in on the Marvel. The great thing about Alyssa is that she knows her college football. She is a South Carolina alum. She's a Gamecock Central alum, and she is a superhero movie nerd as well. So, Alyssa, congrats to you. Well done, and that's going to be a great wedding celebration, I can imagine.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So that's so crazy. Within a week, both you and Alyssa are getting engaged. I think there's something in the air with Gamecock Central people.
Maybe so.
I'm turning back off my camera because I feel like my Wi-Fi. Don't worry, not me, not anytime soon. So I can guarantee at least one person at Gamecock Central will not be engaged. But awesome for Wes, awesome for Alyssa as well. So super happy for both y'all. I just had to cut the programming really quick and talk about that. But no, back to what you talked about, and with the month of June and just with players coming in for these camps, it's definitely going to be huge, and it's going to be huge for Shane Beamer in South Carolina. I'm really excited about what's to come, Wes, and I think, you know, the one thing that I'm not really excited about is the fact that South Carolina has 2 noon games in the first 3 weeks of the season. That's not exactly ideal in my opinion. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I feel like those 2 games, week 2 and 3 against Arkansas and Georgia, the fact that they're noon games is genuinely shocking to me. Like, I thought, okay, we might get one. And South Carolina has been really fortunate, and especially last year, they had a ton of night games. But I thought maybe one of those 2 games would be noon. I really didn't think the Georgia game would be a noon game. So
Well, and
that's
yes, that's
the
something we haven't gotten to yet. So good call on that. I would have forgotten to say that. I imagine most of the people have already seen it, but if you have not, 7:30 for the opener, Georgia State, and then as Kendall said, noon Arkansas, which is 11 a.m. local time if you're going to Arkansas or if you are South Carolina, and noon for Georgia. So, but I gotta say, Kendall, I gotta say, I saw y'all, and I know who you know who you are. I saw y'all complaining about how many night games South Carolina has had recently. It used to be everybody got excited about the night games under the lights, and then South Carolina had so many night games. And if you weren't a complainer, obviously I'm not talking to you. But if you're listening or watching, I saw you. I saw you complaining about the night games. So be careful what you ask for, because now we are going to roast. And when I say roast, I mean it's going to probably be 97.6 degrees in Williams-Brice Stadium for that Georgia game. And just sit there and remember what you asked for when you complained about those night games for the last 2 years. Because I saw y'all and I have not forgotten. So just think about what you've done.
So aggressive.
Well, it just bothers me how some people, again, if you're getting defensive, I'm talking to you. If it's not you, it's not you. But I see how we just like to complain about everything sometimes in Gamecock Nation. So when we get night games in the future, let's be happy. Let's not complain about it.
Okay,
You've seen it. People were complaining, we got another night game, because there were so many night games in a row, it felt like.
So I was actually like kind of annoyed about all the night games last year.
So you are one of them.
No, I know. I understand. Like, I'm being here's the thing. South Carolina never has a 3:30 game. It seems like there's never a 3:30 or a 4:00 game on SEC Network. It's always one or the other. I don't mind a night game. Like, I really, really like them. But when you're covering the game and you've got to get there at like, say 4:00, 3:30, and then you're there until about, I would leave Willie B at like 1:30 in the morning. I'm not complaining. I mean, I didn't mind it necessarily, but week after week after week, I was like, I am so tired. We got back from Georgia at almost 5:00 in the morning after that night game at Georgia, because we drove right back after the game was over. So it can be taxing to have a lot of them in a row, just from my standpoint, but I like the vibes better at night. It's obviously more fun being under the lights at any stadium, especially Williams-Brice is more fun. The noon games, though, it's like you're going to have to be waking up at 6:00 in the morning. That's what I did at Tennessee last year. Wake up at 6 a.m., get to the stadium around like 7:30, 8:00, and then you're there. So it just seems like we're never in that sweet spot of like the 3:34. It's always got to be, 7:30 or noon, which again, I'm just happy that football's coming back. I can't complain, but I am shocked. I'm genuinely shocked. Maybe the Arkansas.
I can't believe you were one of the people complaining, Kendall.
I mean, I'm shocked that the Georgia game is at noon. I can't believe it.
Well, and here's the thing. There have not been many of the middays. The middays, though, are reserved for, you better be really, really good, because then you get the CBS game, and it better be 2 really good teams. And frankly, for much of the last 5 to 6 years, 7 years, probably if you count it all the way back, South Carolina has not been in a position to be the CBS game, because they've not been in that upper echelon of the SEC. And the CBS gets first pick every week, 3:30 game. So you get the marquee game for 3:30. Now, the 4 o'clock, I feel like the 4 o'clock SEC game is one you would think South Carolina would have been more involved in, but that's not necessarily one you want because I feel like you're getting way down the totem pole if you're the 4 o'clock SEC network game, because that means you've gotten past being obviously the 3:30 CBS game. You've gotten past being the ESPN primetime game. You've gotten past being the SEC network primetime. So, that's probably not one of your best. That's not going to be one of your marquee games on the schedule if you are the 4 o'clock SEC game. So, you know what? Noon road games, though, I feel like are fantastic because, and I'm talking about from a fan perspective, if you're not traveling to the game, you can still sleep in. You can do whatever you need to do around the house. Boom, you get to watch your team at noon. You can have some brunch or some breakfast or something like that before the game. And then you get to enjoy the 3:30 game, enjoy the primetime games that are probably going to be the best games of the week without the pressure of watching your team. So I feel like noon kickoff for a road game is cool. And you don't have to deal with maybe the team having as big of an atmosphere to play in, which is a good thing as a road team. Noon home games against Georgia, yes, I agree. It sucks. I'm just saying to some of you, again, you know who I'm talking to. You asked for it. So be careful what you ask for.
Well, I will say both of those games, hopefully y'all can hear me right now. Both of those games are on ESPN, both Arkansas and Georgia. So that's really good. I'm looking at the schedule right now. Week 3, when South Carolina plays Georgia, that 3:30 CBS game is Penn State and Auburn, which is a little surprising. I mean,
All right, we're losing you again, Kendall. All right, we lost Kendall again. So while Kendall is getting settled again, I'm going to tell you guys about our good friends
ESPN
at
Plus
Liberty
for that first
Tax.
game of the season.
Overcome your taxiety. 803-462-5576. Again, we appreciate Larry and the great folks at Liberty Tax for being our sponsor here on GC Live. Of course, the 2022 tax deadline has passed, but the tax team at Liberty Tax is still helping you cure your taxiety. You can file an extension. They have locations open Monday through Friday. If you own a small business and need advice, they can help you with that. Bookkeeping, I should say, and payroll services for LLCs, S Corps, and C Corps. Or if you owe money to the IRS, you can meet with a local tax professional that can represent you to settle your debt rather than having to call one of those late night 800 numbers. They have a new Columbia location at 551 St. Andrews Road by the Harbor Freight. Also, they have the Lexington office by Dunkin' Donuts at 1123 South Lake Drive and in Irmo by Kroger at 7467 St. Andrews Road. So again, appreciate Liberty Tax and the professionals there for being a sponsor of GC Live. Kendall, we lost you again there. Is why I had to take over. So do we got you back?
You hear me now?
I can hear you now. Kendall, your closing thoughts. Let's close this thing out and get ready to start the weekend, huh?
Yes, closing thoughts. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Lots to talk about, so much to get into. We're excited for everything we have coming on Gamecock Central. So if you haven't already, head over to GamecockCentral.com. Be sure. And I hope that everybody has a great Memorial Day weekend, always remembering what this weekend is about. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has so selflessly served our country and been so brave so that we can live in this country. So thank you to all who have served, and to the families who have had people that have served. We are so grateful for you, and just remember what this weekend is truly about. And I hope that you all enjoy it with your family and friends. And that's